Of course, he starts rookie camp today. Will Howard out of Ohio State. We'll see what he brings to the table. Draft him in the 6th round, and right now they continue to talk about Mason Rudolph being in pole position to be the starter there, but Will Howard part of this group as well. Now, with George Pickens' departure to Dallas, here's what the Steelers' wide receiver room looks like. Here's who Howard, Mason Rudolph, maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing to. Robert Woods, DK Metcalf, the veterans, but they're both in their first season with Pittsburgh. And the most career receiving yards for any returning player is 1,154 by Scotty Miller. No one else has 1,000 yards in their careers. Steelers GM Omar Khan on how the Pickens deal came about.
Was reached out, I don't really remember what day it was, but earlier this week, and they gave us, they proposed something that we discussed where things, I guess, have been with George, where they are, and where things could go with George, and this trade made sense for everyone. We had 3 years with George, and we had some exciting times, but. It was just time for the fresh start for both sides was the right thing. Roman's healthy. I've seen him the last couple weeks out here and how he's doing, and we saw how he was progressing at the end of last year. Obviously, he didn't get the chance to get on the field, but there was some excitement there. But we have a good group. There's some guys that are back, and we've seen their growth and have another year under our belt with them, and we're chasing a championship, and every decision we make is based on trying to win a championship, not only, in the future, but this year.
Yeah, I mean, right? That's what fans want to hear. But D. Wood, new quarterback, new wide receiver, new running backs. Do you expect there to be a leadership void amongst the players, especially on offense for the Steelers team?
Well, usually when you talk about leadership, it happens organically. And the way it happens organically is by a few factors. One, guys who, been there, been through the fire, been through all the things that's been going on within the organization. But ultimately, what it comes down to? Production. Mm-hmm. You're not going to follow anyone who doesn't go out there and ball out on the field. And so, a guy that came to mind was Pat Freiermuth, guy who's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's been a productive guy, fan favorite type of guy. That's the type of guy that I could ideally see to be, potentially be a leader. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the players in the locker room gravitate to the guys who are out there producing on the field.
Yeah, and I think this leadership that that is voided with the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to come down to the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers comes to mind for me. I think Aaron Rodgers comes in, he brings in a different leadership value, and it's a leadership value that I believe they need. They had Russell Wilson, it didn't work for them. Aaron Rodgers can come in and he can do the veteran leadership. He can take DK Metcalf. They can do special things. He can take the rookie running back, Jaylen Warren, under his wing, get them going a little bit, and then have that camaraderie with the offensive line to really protect him, and they could do something.
Do you know something we don't know, that Aaron Rodgers is definitely going there? The way you said that, it sounded...
It sounded convincing.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
We put that on the bottom line, as reported by Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Where are we on this Rodgers situation?
So I've checked in on this with people with the Steelers. They say, look, we're still hopeful. We've been in contact with Aaron Rodgers, but there's no hard updates. We continue to wait. His first foray into free agency in 20 years was always going to be unpredictable. But they are counting on him essentially being the quarterback. They like Mason Rudolph as a backup plan. And look, at wide receiver, they're going to have to add somebody, but they like Roman Wilson, 3rd-round pick from last year. They say he's night and day better. He's off the injuries he had a year ago, so they expect him to step into a prominent role. They also have 3 third-round picks in 2026 they could package as a potential trade target for somebody else.
It does feel like 2026 makes a lot of sense if they don't make moves. Even if they get Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position, It's supposed to be a better quarterback class. All right, we talked about Pickens going from Pittsburgh to Dallas. I saw you reporting no long-term deal there for him. Why is that?
Yeah, he's going to play it out because Pickens knows that his value can skyrocket if he puts together a complete season, not just on the field with the production, but off it, because the issues in Pittsburgh were very clear. It was maturity and it was accountability or lack thereof. He can go to Dallas, try to show that, because from what I was told, he actually didn't want to leave Pittsburgh. He was loyal to Mike Tomlin, wanted to see it through, but then once the trade was going through, he's like, look, I get to play with Dak Prescott, the best quarterback he's had in the league. top 10 guy, really.
And supporting cast, too.
That's what I'm saying. He's got CD Lamb there, so he's going to put up numbers for sure. If he can go in, be a good soldier, show that he can, be on the up and up from a personality standpoint, and the Cowboys know how to manage some of those personalities as well. So he's going to hit it big. Dallas is totally comfortable with that because they get a year with him, and they can get a comp pick if he does leave and sign somewhere else.
Lord, let me tell you something. If you can't put up numbers this year, then I just don't understand it. And in a contract year with a top 10 quarterback, come on.
And not getting double teamed like he was in Pittsburgh. CD's taking the double team.
No, that's a good point. I mean, you saw the numbers he put up in Pittsburgh is pretty remarkable considering, and he wasn't even healthy for some of that time. Now, Mina, we've talked a lot this offseason about some of the roster issues in Dallas. We turn our attention there. With most of the player movement now done, where are the holes still for the Cowboys?
I think the biggest hole is the same as last year and the year before, and that's run defense. Kyle's Ravens ran for, I believe, 274 yards on them, and they were not alone. This was a bottom 5 run defense by just about every metric. And while they addressed pass rush in the draft, they added a cornerback who I really like. The spine of the defense remains an issue for me. Defensive tackle, linebacker. I think Dallas's best chance of stopping the run is for the offense to be so productive that teams have to pass on them, because I do not think their run defense issues are fixed.
All right, we'll leave it there and continue to keep our eyes on those Cowboys. But new on NFL Live, Jeremy, you have some news about Jair Alexander. What's going on there?
Yeah, checking on Alexander with the Packers. I'm told they have discussed a potential resolution to his contract situation. They've talked about a trade, but the Packers just simply have not been comfortable with any sort of deal. So I'm told that Alexander, as it stands, is prepared to honor his contract unless the Packers can come to an agreement on a revised deal that benefits both sides. So he's due $17+ million next year. Can they find a sweet spot? It is looking more and more likely that he'll be a Packer at this point. I think they can work something out, but we'll see.
Huge for Packers fans and Green Bay's defense. All right, we're just getting started here on NFL Live. Jackson Dart, you guys aren't with me on that. I was trying to have fun there. Nobody wanted to chime in. All right, let's go to the Giants. Jackson Dart getting ready to go, and you see him out there, Brian Daboll right there in the mix with everything that Jackson Dart's going to be doing. Big question is, how soon do we see him? Giants head coach Brian Daboll on Dart and their relationship from earlier today.
Yeah, I'd say just with any young player, Patty, you're doing everything you can to, again, there's a long list of things that you have to go through with all these players. Quarterback is a particularly hard position mentally. We're going to put everything we got into it. I know he will too. And there'll be some struggles and there'll be some good things, and that's what you learn from. But excited to work with him.
He's constantly, coaching me, and I think that's what I want to be around. I want to be I want to be coached the hardest. And I feel like that's going to help me excel at the highest level and help me reach my potential. So there's not another coach I'd rather be playing for.
Oh, man, it's been rough for the Giants since Eli Manning retired after the 2019 season. The G-men have thrown for 15 or fewer touchdowns in 4 of the 5 seasons since Eli left. That's twice as many as the next closest teams. Here's our Giants reporter Jordan Renan on how the quarterbacks look today.
Thanks, Laura. It was easy to see in just one practice what the Giants like about Jackson Dart. He was out there getting guys in position at the line of scrimmage, fitting throws into tight windows. He even gathered the guys together on the bus ride home yesterday and went over plays in order to be prepared and confident for his first practice, which he was. Not everyone's first practice goes so smoothly. Just ask Eli Manning, who famously threw a ball off the tackling dummy in his first workout with the Giants. Now Dart and the Giants know there's going to be a big learning curve. This, after all, is a quarterback who only used a clap as a snap count in college. Head coach Brian Daboll said it's not rocket science. He'll think he'll be able to pick that up quickly. Still, after the draft, I asked general manager Joe Schoen if he thought this could be like a redshirt year for Dart, sitting and learning behind veterans like Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Schoen was nodding his head yes. Dart has said he's never really been in that position, so this could be different for him. Back to you, Laura.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, Jeremy, what are the Giants hoping for when it comes to seeing Dart on the field in the fall?
Yeah, so the stage is set for Jackson Dart to sit an extended period of time and learn behind the scenes if everything goes correctly. That means that Russell Wilson looks great in training camp. If they can win, hey, look, we're not naive, right? We know how this goes. You got to win at least some semblance of football games to stave off the rookie. But the Giants do feel more equipped than they have in the past to be at least able to hold the fort down. They got a good defense now. They got more parts. Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over. They're hopeful, that they can let Jackson Dart develop behind the scenes. But I'm told they're also not going to guardrail him either. If he is lights out in training camp over the next 3 months, looks terrific, they're not just going to hold him out for no reason. But the feeling around the league, the prevailing theme when I talk to other teams is that Jackson Dart needs at least a year to develop based on the offense he came from, Ole Miss, just needs a little bit of time.
Yeah, listen, I understand the game plan here, but I'm not one to put guys in boxes because everyone develops at different rates here. So again, like you pointed out, if he comes out here and he lights it up, you might have the whole Giants organization reassessing things along the way. But I think the overall prevailing thing is, I think it just depends on how the Giants season goes. If the Giants if they're playing ball and they're winning some games and they're hanging tough and Russell Wilson is playing pretty decent, then okay, he'll probably sit down and develop. But we know, and I played in the New York market, if things go awry and you got that first round pick at quarterback, trust me, fans and everyone will be clamoring for him to be on the field sooner rather than later.
Week 2 or week 3.
Oh, Lord.
And I think everybody wants to jump in and say, look at Jaden Daniels. Look what he did. So I think a lot of teams might be wanting to go that route with Jackson
I hope they don't
Dart.
do that.
I hope they don't do it either.
Not fair to Dart, right?
For the development part for Dart being under Brian Daboll, who he's famous for.
Welcome back to the channel, where we break down everything happening around the NFL with insight, energy, and analysis you won't find anywhere else. Today, we're rediving deep into the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team in transition, but still hunting for greatness. Plus, major updates across the league including the Cowboys, Packers, and Giants. And as always, we want your voice in this conversation. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you think the Steelers can contend this year with so many new faces on offense? Let's jump into it. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in the midst of a massive offensive overhaul. After the surprising trade that sent George Pickens to Dallas, fans were left asking, who's catching the football in Pittsburgh now? Well, let's take a look. Mason Rudolph is in pole position to be the starting quarterback, at least for now. But there's a lot of chatter surrounding rookie Will Howard out of Ohio State, selected in the 6th round. Howard is raw, sure, but he brings toughness, athleticism, and a chip on his shoulder. Could he be the future? That remains to be seen. The receiver room looks unfamiliar, to say the least. Veterans Robert Woods and DK Metcalf are now in Pittsburgh, both in their first season with the team. The most experienced returning player in terms of yardage, Scotty Miller with just 1,154 career receiving yards. Not exactly a loaded group on paper. Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, explained the Pickens trade as a necessary move for both sides. He said talks began earlier in the week, and that while the organization enjoyed 3 years of highs and lows with Pickens, it was time for a fresh start. Still, it stings. Pickens was electric on the field, even if he had challenges off it, particularly in terms of maturity and accountability. And here's the kicker. Pickens didn't want to leave Pittsburgh. He was loyal to Mike Tomlin and hoped to see things through. But when the Cowboys came calling, with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, it was hard to say no. He's now betting on himself in a contract year, and if he delivers, he's going to cash in big. With Pickens gone and new players arriving, the Steelers face a tough question. Who leads this offense? Leadership in the NFL doesn't come from speeches, it comes from production. You can be the alpha in the locker room if you don't produce on the field. Names like tight end Pat Freiermuth come to mind, a steady presence who's earned respect, but in truth, all eyes are on the quarterback position, and that's where things get even more interesting. Could Aaron Rodgers end up in Pittsburgh? According to inside reports, the Steelers have been in contact with Rodgers. There's no firm update yet, but they remain hopeful. Mason Rudolph is still in the mix, but the franchise seems to be preparing for Rodgers, or at least a major veteran presence. Think about it, Rodgers to Pittsburgh means instant credibility. He could mentor young players like Jaylen Warren, build chemistry with DK Metcalf, and elevate the offense. Rodgers brings not only experience but championship DNA, and with the Steelers focused on winning now, this could be the move that changes everything. The Steelers are also excited about Roman Wilson, a 3rd-round pick from last year, who is now healthy and reportedly looking like a completely different player. Coaches believe he'll take on a significant role this season, especially in a WR room looking for answers. If Wilson breaks out, it changes the outlook of the entire offense. Looking ahead, Pittsburgh holds 3 third-round picks in 2026. That's ammo for trades, or future assets. Whether they go after another wide receiver or make a splash trade remains to be seen, but the front office is clearly staying aggressive. Remember, every move they make is aimed at one thing: bringing a championship back to Pittsburgh, and the foundation is being laid now. Now let's shift to Dallas, where George Pickens is landing with something to prove. The Cowboys didn't offer him a long-term deal, at least not yet. They want to see him produce, stay disciplined, and thrive alongside Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. If he does that, he's set to cash in next offseason. And from what we're hearing, Dallas is totally comfortable with that situation. They've managed big personalities before, and with CD drawing double teams, Pickens should see plenty of one-on-one coverage. If he can't produce in this environment, then maybe the critics were right, but don't count him out just yet. That said, Dallas still has some lingering issues, particularly on run defense. Despite upgrading the pass rush and secondary in the draft, they've struggled stopping the run for years. If the offense can score in bunches, it might not matter, but the spine of the defense, especially at linebacker and defensive tackle, remains a concern. Let's check in quickly around the league. In Green Bay, Jaire Alexander is staying put for now. Despite trade rumors, the Packers seem committed to working out a revised deal. That's huge for a defense that's quietly elite when healthy. Over in New York, the Giants are working closely with rookie QB Jackson Dart. The plan, let him develop behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. But if Dart shines in training camp, they won't hold him back. Can Roman Wilson and DK Metcalf step up as the new face of the passing game? Steelers fans, we want to hear from you. Do you trust the direction the team is headed? Who do you think should lead this offense? And what are your thoughts on losing George Pickens? Was it worth it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. And don't forget, if you love in-depth NFL coverage that is always honest and passionate, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. This is your home for everything football. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and let's keep talking football.